What if the very pain you're running from is the key to unlocking your greatest success? Pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Every scar you carry is proof of strength, not weakness. When we think about pain, most of us think about something we want to avoid at all costs. It's the burning in your chest after heartbreak, the sting of rejection, the failure that leaves you awake at night questioning everything about yourself. It's natural to resist pain, to run from it, to treat it as something purely destructive. But what if pain is not a dead end, but rather a signal? What if pain is not the enemy, but a messenger trying to tell us something important? Every time we face pain, whether physical, emotional, or mental, it's pointing us toward a truth we might otherwise ignore. It's signaling that something needs attention, that something in us is ready to grow. Pain is not a stopping point, it's a starting point for transformation. Think about when you were a child and touched something hot. The pain wasn't there to punish you, it was there to protect you. It was your body signaling that you needed to move your hand before greater harm was done. In the same way, the pain we feel in our personal and professional lives isn't there to destroy us. It's there to alert us that something has to change. Maybe the relationship isn't healthy. Maybe the job doesn't align with your value. Maybe the way you've been living is not sustainable. Pain shows up like an alarm bell ringing in the middle of the night, and though the sound is uncomfortable, that alarm is saving your life. But here's the challenge: most people mistake the alarm for the fire. They hear the sound, they feel the sting, and they assume the world is against them. They stop moving forward because they confuse discomfort with defeat. Yet the truth is, pain itself does not have the power to stop us. It's our interpretation of it that determines whether we get stuck or whether we grow. If you see pain only as an obstacle, you'll retreat into fear. But if you choose to see pain as a signal, you'll lean into curiosity. You'll ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What is this showing me? What is this pushing me toward? That shift in perspective is the beginning of success. Take, for example, an athlete training for a marathon. The soreness in their muscles after long runs isn't a punishment. It's a signal that the body is adapting, stretching its limits, preparing to perform at a higher level. The pain of training is not a sign to stop running. It's evidence of growth. The same is true in life. When you face rejection, it may not mean you're unworthy. It may mean you're being redirected towards something better. When you experience failure, it doesn't necessarily mean you're incapable. It may mean you're on the edge of learning the lesson that will unlock your potential. Pain, in all its forms, is a signal that transformation is already happening. Think about the moments in your own life when pain has forced you to stop and reflect. Maybe it was the end of a relationship that made you realize your worth. Maybe it was a failure in business that pushed you to develop resilience and creativity. Maybe it was a health scare that opened your eyes to the way you were living. At first, the pain seemed unbearable, but looking back, you can see that it was the very thing that woke you up. Without the pain, you might have stayed asleep in comfort, unaware of the possibilities beyond your current reality. We live in a culture that glorifies comfort and convenience. We're told that success means eliminating hardship and building a life that is easy, smooth, and free of struggle. But the truth is, nothing of real value comes without discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. Transformation is uncomfortable. Pain is simply the body and mind's way of signaling that we are in the process of becoming more than we were before. To avoid pain is to avoid progress. There is a profound difference between suffering and growth. Suffering comes from resisting pain, from trying to push it away, from refusing to listen to its message. Growth comes when we accept pain as part of the process, when we lean in and allow it to teach us. Every scar you carry is not just a mark of what hurt you. It's evidence of what healed you. Every tear shed was not wasted. It watered the seeds of resilience inside you. Pain was never meant to be a period at the end of your story. It's a comma, a pause, a signal that the next chapter is waiting to be written. When we start to see pain this way, our relationship with it changes completely. Instead of running, we pause. Instead of hiding, we face it. Instead of fearing, we listen. And in that listening, we begin to see that pain is not there to keep us down, but to pull us forward. It's not the end of the road. It's the signpost pointing to a new direction. Every great achievement you admire, whether in sports, business, art, or personal growth, has been built on a foundation of pain. Not pain that was avoided, but pain that was embraced, understood, and transformed. The truth is, pain is a universal language. Every human being, no matter where they come from or what they believe, has felt it. And in that sense, pain connects us. But what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck is not whether or not they experience pain, it's how they interpret it. For some, pain becomes the reason to quit. For others, it becomes the reason to keep going. The difference lies in recognizing pain for what it truly is, a signal that growth, change, and transformation are possible. One of the greatest shifts a person can make in life is learning to reframe pain. Most of us are conditioned to see pain as a punishment, as a mark of failure, or as proof that something is wrong with us. When something hurts, the first question we instinctively ask is, why me? That question keeps us trapped in a cycle of blame, self-pity, and resentment. It makes us believe we are victims of our circumstances, powerless to change the outcome. But when we shift that question to what now, everything changes. We move from being paralyzed by pain to being propelled by it. Pain becomes possibility when we reframe the way we see it. Reframing pain doesn't mean denying that it hurts. It doesn't mean pretending that heartbreak, rejection, or failure isn't painful. It means acknowledging the reality of the pain while choosing to focus on what can be created from it. Life is filled with moments we didn't ask for, betrayals, losses, disappointments, setbacks. But these very moments hold within them the potential for transformation if we can resist the urge to stay stuck in why me, and instead lean into what now. Take the story of entrepreneurs who built successful businesses after losing their jobs. At the moment of being laid off, the pain felt unbearable. The security they once had disappeared overnight, and the fear of the unknown weighed heavily on them. Asking why me would have kept them frozen in anger and despair, but asking what now unlocked creativity. It made them explore passions they had neglected, skills they had overlooked, and opportunities they had never considered. That reframing turned what looked like the end into the beginning of something new. This is the power of perspective. Pain by itself doesn't define us. It's the meaning we attach to it that shapes our future. Two people can go through the same struggle, yet emerge with completely different outcomes. One sees pain as proof of their inadequacy, and they give up. The other sees pain as an invitation to grow, and they rise stronger. The pain didn't decide their destiny. Their perspective did. Reframing pain into possibility is about taking control of that perspective and choosing to see the lessons hidden in the struggle. Think about the way a sculptor approaches a block of marble. At first, it looks solid, unshaped, resistant. But with every strike of the chisel, with every moment of pressure, something begins to emerge. The marble doesn't enjoy being struck. If it had a voice, it might say, "Why me? Why am I being broken again and again?" But from the perspective of the sculptor, those strikes are not punishment. They are creation. They are transformation. And slowly, the marble becomes a masterpiece. The same is true for us. Life strikes us with pain, but if we reframe it, those very strikes are shaping us into something we could never have become without them. Reframing pain requires courage because it forces us to stop clinging to what was and start imagining what could be. It's easy to stay stuck in the past, reliving the hurt, replaying the failure, and rethinking the loss, but that energy only deepens the wound. The real power comes when we ask, what can this pain build in me? What can I learn from this? What door might this be opening that I never would have seen otherwise? By asking those questions, we stop seeing pain as a dead end and start seeing it as a doorway. History is filled with examples of people who turned unbearable pain into possibility. Inventors who failed hundreds of times before discovering breakthroughs. Leaders who endured rejection and humiliation before achieving influence. Artists who poured their heartbreak into works that inspired millions. The common thread is not that they avoided pain, but that they reframed it. Instead of letting pain define them, they used it to refine them. They refused to let pain have the final word. Even in our personal lives, we can find countless moments where reframing changes everything. A breakup, for instance, can feel like the end of love. But reframed, it can be the beginning of self-discovery, teaching us about our worth, our boundaries, and what we truly want in a partner. A business failure can feel like the death of a dream, but reframed, it can be the classroom that teaches resilience, creativity, and innovation. A personal loss can feel like unbearable emptiness, but reframed, it can deepen our gratitude, strengthen our empathy, and connect us more profoundly to the fragility and beauty of life. The process of reframing doesn't happen instantly. It takes time, reflection, and often a willingness to sit in the discomfort until clarity emerges. But once that shift happens, pain no longer holds us hostage. It becomes fuel, it becomes direction. It becomes the very thing that moves us toward a future we never imagined possible. Pain reframed becomes possibility, and possibility reframed becomes purpose. The truth is, life is not asking us to avoid pain. Life is asking us to transform it. Every struggle you face carries two possible outcomes. It can break you, or it can build you. The deciding factor is the frame you put around it. If you frame it as the end, it will close doors. If you frame it as a beginning, it will open them. When you stop asking why me, and start asking what now, you step into the space where pain turns into opportunity, where wounds turn into wisdom, and where struggle turns into strength. At first glance, struggles seem like the very thing that keeps us from reaching our potential. They slow us down, drain our energy, and test the limits of our patience. Nobody wakes up in the morning hoping for rejection, loss, or failure. And yet, when we look back on our lives, it is often the struggles, the seasons of hardship, the times when everything seemed impossible, that gave us the most meaningful lessons. This is because inside every struggle lies a hidden gift, one that cannot be discovered without walking through the fire of pain. Struggles strip away comfort, certainty, and control, but in return, they leave behind resilience, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of who we really are. The hidden gift of struggles is not obvious in the moment. When you're in the middle of heartbreak, you don't immediately see it as an opportunity to learn about love or self-respect. When you failed at something you poured your heart into, you don't instantly recognize it as a stepping stone to a future success. Struggles feel raw, heavy, and consuming. But once time passes, once the dust begins to settle, you start to realize that what you gained from that struggle far outweighs what you lost. The very moments you once wished never happened become the foundation of your strength. Think of a seed planted in the ground. At first, it must push through the dark, heavy soil before it can ever see the light of day. The soil represents struggle, oppressive, difficult, suffocating. But without that struggle, the seed could never grow roots strong enough to support a tree. Without the resistance of the soil, the seed would never have the depth it needs to withstand the winds and storms to come. The hidden gift inside the struggle is growth. It's not visible on the surface at first, but beneath the pain, something powerful is taking shape. Consider the story of someone who faced repeated rejection before achieving success. Actors who were told they lacked talent, writers whose manuscripts were turned down hundreds of times, athletes who were cut from teams again and again. Each rejection was a struggle, a painful reminder that the world did not yet recognize their potential. But inside those struggles was a hidden gift, persistence. Without the rejection, they would not have developed the resilience to keep moving forward. Without the failure, they would not have sharpened their craft. Without the struggle, they would not have become the person capable of carrying the weight of success. In everyday life, the same principle holds true. Struggles with relationships can teach us how to communicate better, how to set boundaries, and how to value ourselves. Struggles at work can teach us innovation, patience, and leadership. Struggles with health can awaken gratitude for the simple gift of life and remind us not to take a single day for granted. In each case, the struggle feels like a burden, but it is secretly a gift in disguise, shaping us in ways comfort never could. The reason struggles carry hidden gifts is because they expose parts of ourselves we would never otherwise discover. Comfort zones hide our strength. Struggles reveal it. When life is easy, we don't have to stretch beyond what we already know. We don't question our limits. We don't explore our potential. But when life pushes us into struggle, we are forced to dig deeper, to discover courage we didn't know we had, to access creativity we didn't know existed, to build resilience we didn't know was possible. This struggle uncovers capacities that were always within us but dormant until challenge brought them alive. There's another gift hidden inside struggles, clarity. When life is smooth, it's easy to drift, to move through the motions without asking ourselves the hard questions. But struggle has a way of forcing reflection. It makes us reevaluate what matters most. It strips away distractions and demands that we focus on what is essential. Someone who loses their job might realize they were never truly fulfilled in that career to begin with. Someone who goes through heartbreak may come to see the values and principles they must never compromise again. Struggles clarify what we want, what we value, and what we will no longer tolerate. The hidden gift is also connection. Struggles humble us. They remind us that we are not invincible, that we need others, that we cannot do life alone. Some of the deepest relationships are born out of shared struggles, when people bond over the pain they've endured together. Communities are strengthened not by avoiding hardship, but by walking through it collectively. Struggle opens the door to empathy, because when you've been through your own pain, you understand the pain of others in a way you never could before. Every scar we carry tells a story. On the surface, scars seem like reminders of what hurt us, but when we look closer, we realize they are reminders of what healed us. They are proof that we endured, that we survived, that we kept going even when it was hard. The hidden gift of struggles is that they transform our scars into symbols of resilience. They give us confidence, not because life will never hurt us again, but because we know we can survive it when it does. It is tempting to wish for a life without struggles, but such a life would also be a life without growth, without depth, without meaning. Struggles test us, yes, but they also shape us. They give us the tools we need to handle the challenges ahead. They prepare us for the opportunities that will come our way. They make us grateful for the moments of peace, and they remind us that strength is not built in times of ease, but in times of trial. The hidden gifts inside struggles are resilience, clarity, empathy, wisdom, and purpose, all things we need if we want to live fully and meaningfully. Every wound we carry tells a story. Some are visible on our bodies, etched into our skin as reminders of past battles. Others are invisible, hidden deep within our hearts and minds, shaping the way we see the world. While it's natural to see wounds only as evidence of pain, they carry within them something far greater than suffering. Wounds can become wisdom. They can be transformed from reminders of hurt into lessons that guide us, strengthen us, and help us lead with greater compassion and purpose. What hurts us today has the potential to shape the wisdom we walk with tomorrow. When you experience a wound, whether it's from failure, betrayal, or loss, it leaves a mark. The instinctive reaction is to cover it, to hide it, to pretend it never happened. But wounds that are hidden never heal properly. They fester, they hold us captive. The moment we choose to face our wounds, to acknowledge them rather than bury them, is the moment transformation begins. It's in that confrontation with pain that we discover insight we could never have learned from comfort. The wound becomes a teacher, and the lesson it gives often stays with us for a lifetime. Think of someone who has experienced betrayal. The wound of being deceived by someone you trusted cuts deep. In the moment, it feels like the world has collapsed, like your ability to trust has been shattered. But with time, if you allow yourself to reflect and grow, that wound can teach you the value of discernment, the importance of boundaries, and the power of self-respect. The wound doesn't disappear, it becomes part of your story. But now it carries wisdom that shapes how you approach relationships in the future. You no longer step blindly into trust, but you also no longer live in fear. You trust with awareness, and that balance is the gift born from the wound. The same principle applies to failure. Failure leaves a wound of disappointment and self-doubt. It stings, it makes you question your ability and your worth. But hidden in that wound is wisdom that no book or mentor can teach. Failure shows you what doesn't work, and it forces you to adapt, to innovate, to become more resilient. It teaches humility, reminding you that success is not owed but earned. Over time, the wound of failure can evolve into wisdom that allows you to approach new opportunities with deeper perspective, patience, and grit. What once felt like humiliation becomes a source of strength. Wounds also deepen empathy. When you've been through suffering, you gain a unique understanding of the suffering of others. Someone who has lost a loved one knows how to comfort someone else walking through grief. Someone who has struggled financially knows how heavy the burden of scarcity feels. Someone who has faced rejection understands the sting of feeling unseen or unworthy. The wisdom from your wounds allows you to connect with others at a deeper level. It softens you, humbles you, and expands your ability to show compassion. Without wounds, empathy often remains shallow. With wounds, it becomes real. There is also a profound kind of wisdom that comes from realizing that wounds are not weaknesses, they are proof of survival. A scar is not evidence of defeat. It is evidence that healing has taken place. It shows that you endured, that you stood through the storm, and that you made it to the other side. That realization itself is wisdom. The understanding that resilience is built through struggle. The wound reminds you that you are capable of enduring more than you once thought possible. It strengthens your confidence, not in the illusion of invincibility, but in the truth of perseverance. Consider how many of the world's most inspiring leaders, artists, and visionaries have spoken of their wounds. They didn't achieve greatness in spite of their struggles. They achieved it because of them. Their wounds became the foundation of their wisdom. They turned pain into stories that resonated, into solutions that mattered, into contributions that changed the world. They did not allow their wounds to silence them. Instead, they allowed their wounds to speak, not of bitterness, but of lessons learned, of strength gained, and of hope discovered. When we turn wounds into wisdom, we break the cycle of pain. Instead of passing on hurt to others, we pass on insight. Instead of letting bitterness grow, we let understanding deepen. This doesn't mean the wound didn't hurt. It doesn't mean it was fair or deserved. It means we chose to use it. We chose not to waste the pain, but to extract meaning from it. That choice transforms not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. Your wisdom born of wounds can become the light someone else needs in their darkness. Turning wounds into wisdom requires vulnerability. It means admitting that you've been hurt, that you've fallen short, that you've felt broken. Vulnerability can feel like weakness, but it is actually the doorway to transformation. When you are honest about your wounds, you give yourself permission to learn from them instead of being defined by them. You shift from asking, "Why did this happen to me?" to asking, "What can I carry forward from this?" That subtle shift turns wounds into teachers, guiding you with lessons only pain could provide. Over time, the wisdom you gain from your wounds reshapes the way you live. You no longer see pain as something to fear, but as something that can shape you. You approach challenges not with despair, but with curiosity, asking what new lesson might be hidden inside the struggle. You begin to see wounds not as barriers, but as bridges, bridges to resilience, to empathy, to strength, and to deeper purpose. Every wound that heals leaves behind more than a scar. It leaves behind wisdom that makes you stronger, kinder, and more prepared for the road ahead. When we talk about purpose, we often imagine it as something beautiful, uplifting, and filled with joy. We envision a life where everything falls into place, where our talents are recognized, and where meaning flows naturally. But purpose rarely emerges from comfort. It does not grow in the soil of ease or in the absence of struggle. More often, purpose is born from pain. It is the hardships, the disappointments, the moments that feel unbearable, that carve out the deepest sense of meaning in our lives. Pain is not the opposite of purpose. It is the pathway to it. Think about the people who dedicate their lives to helping others. Many of them didn't arrive at that mission because everything in their own lives was perfect. A person who advocates for mental health awareness often does so because they have walked through depression or anxiety themselves. A doctor who fights tirelessly for patients may have been shaped by losing a loved one to illness. An entrepreneur who builds a company that serves others may have experienced first, and the frustration of not having the resources they now provide. Behind nearly every story of purpose is a story of pain that gave birth to it. The wound became the reason, the struggle became the spark. Pain has a way of cutting through the noise of life and forcing us to face what really matters. When life is comfortable, it's easy to drift. We can spend years chasing goals that look good on the surface but feel hollow inside. We pursue status, money, or approval without ever asking why. But when pain enters the picture, it strips away the superficial. It demands that we stop, reflect, and reassess. Pain pushes us to ask questions we would otherwise avoid. Why am I here? What do I truly value? What is worth giving my life to? In the rawness of pain, clarity often emerges, and with clarity comes purpose. Consider the story of someone who survived a near-death experience. In the moment, the pain was excruciating, both physically and emotionally. But after survival, many people describe a profound shift in perspective. Suddenly, the things that once seemed urgent no longer mattered. Instead, they felt compelled to live differently, to focus on relationships, on contribution, on meaning. The pain of almost losing life became the doorway to a life lived with deeper purpose. It wasn't the avoidance of pain that shaped them, it was walking through it. Purpose also requires empathy, and empathy is almost always forged in pain. You cannot truly understand the struggles of others if you have never walked through struggles yourself. Your pain becomes the lens through which you connect with humanity at a deeper level. A leader who has known rejection can create a culture of belonging. A teacher who once struggled to learn can inspire patience and encouragement in their students. A parent who has faced hardship can instill resilience in their children. Pain shapes purpose by giving us the ability to connect with others not from a place of theory, but from lived experience. What's remarkable is how pain often points us toward the very work we are meant to do. It leaves behind a sense of responsibility, not in a burdensome way, but in a deeply meaningful one. When you've endured suffering, there's often an inner drive to make sure others don't have to endure the same thing alone. Pain awakens within us a sense of calling, a conviction that says, "This is where I am meant to make a difference." That conviction is what transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary stories of purpose. It's important to recognize that pain does not automatically create purpose. Pain can also destroy if it is left unresolved, if it festers into bitterness or resentment. The turning point comes when we decide not to waste the pain, but to use it. That decision transforms pain from something meaningless into something purposeful. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" we begin to ask, "How can this shape me? How can this help others?" That shift is where purpose is born. It's not that the pain disappears, it's that the pain is repurposed into something greater than itself. Think of a scar. On its own, it's a mark of what hurt you. But when you allow it to carry meaning, it becomes a reminder not just of the wound, but of the healing. In the same way, purpose is what happens when we take the scars of life and allow them to guide us, teach us, and inspire us. Those scars become maps, pointing us toward the paths we are meant to walk. They remind us not just of what we endured, but of what we are capable of giving to the world. Throughout history, some of the greatest movements, inventions, and acts of service have been born from pain. The civil rights leaders who endured oppression didn't fight for equality because life was easy. They fought because their pain demanded justice. The innovators who created life, saving technologies, didn't do so out of convenience. They did so because pain, loss, or crisis fueled their determination. The artists whose work moves us to tears didn't create from comfort. They poured their pain into art that speaks to our soul. Again and again, pain has proven to be the seedbed of purpose. When we embrace pain as part of the journey, we stop seeing it as something to escape and start seeing it as something to learn from. We recognize that purpose is rarely discovered in times of ease, but is almost always revealed in times of hardship. Pain clears the path. It sharpens our vision. It anchors us in meaning, and it ensures that the life we live is not just successful on the outside, but significant on the inside. Life has a way of testing us through pain, and in those moments, it's easy to believe that struggle exists only to break us. But when we step back and truly reflect, we begin to see a different truth. Pain is not the enemy. It's a signal that something in us is ready to grow, a reminder that transformation begins where comfort ends. It challenges us to reframe our perspective, to shift from asking, "Why me?" to "What now?" and in doing so, it turns the very obstacles we fear into stepping stones for possibility. Every struggle carries a hidden gift. It may not be visible in the moment, but beneath the surface, resilience, clarity, and strength are being formed. The wounds we carry are not marks of weakness, but sources of wisdom. They teach us empathy, they sharpen our vision, and they remind us that scars are symbols of survival, not defeat. And ultimately, pain is the pathway to purpose. It strips away distractions, uncovers what matters most, and gives us the courage to dedicate ourselves to something greater than ourselves. When we learn to embrace pain instead of running from it, we discover that it is not a barrier but a bridge. It connects us to our deepest potential, to others who share our struggles, and to the meaning we were always meant to live with. In the end, pain does not diminish us. It refines us, reshapes us, and points us toward the very purpose we were searching for all along.